Well, I belong to a neighborhood association, and here in Salem, and we were asked to come on a show that was being produced down here, and with the idea that every other month we were going to be regulars. Councilor of Ward 4, Lenny O'Leary, and he's the one that mentioned to us that they wanted to do organizations, but we kind of stood out there as a really forceful organization, so that's why they honed in on us. We did do that show. A lot of people watched it. It was kind of weird the way it was set up, but I mean, it did do what it was designed to do, but I mean, there were some really strange things involved in it. The show aired, but the producer disappeared. He was a member down here, and then never seen him again. So I kind of took a good look at when I was down here at what this place had to offer, and how could I use this, like all the members can, to not only take advantage of my time being useful to myself and on the hobby end. We were taping meetings when I first got involved. I was taping the Ward 4 Gallows Hill meetings, and I felt that why just, when I decided to take it into the studio, I figured why just tape a show about one specific ward, being Ward 4. What about the entire city, all 7 wards? Try to inform the whole community rather than just a piece of it. And I took the classes, and pretty much everybody in that class became a member of Salem Now. And by me asking them, they were all gung-ho right from the very beginning. And we started having meetings, which was very, very helpful. We discussed what we wanted to do, where we wanted to go. I always encourage everybody to participate idea-wise. It's not always my idea. There have been times where I was stuck, and the crew was very helpful on making, to keep the engine running. And of course, we created the show, and then now we had to have a name. And how do you do that? Well, naturally, we live in Salem, so it's going to be a community issue show. So it just wasn't enough. You couldn't just call it Salem. So what did we want to talk about? Well, we wanted to talk about things happening now. We wanted to inform people, if the city was building a brick wall in front of your doorway, unbeknown to you, we wanted to inform you before they actually built that wall, give you that information. And so after talking with the whole crew in the conference room, Now became the second part of the name. And it became Salem Now was born. And
it had no name before that?
It had no name. It was just an idea. Just an idea.
So how'd that first show go over? What did
I
you
thought
feel?
it was fantastic. I absolutely, I mean, I'm an accomplished musician. I'm a master carpenter, involved in a lot of areas. Now chairman of the board of the Salem Senior Recognition Day Committee. But I've never done television. But being an accomplished musician was discovered by 3 professors from the college who wanted to put me through the college. I was very familiar playing in a band with an audience. I mean, I've played stadiums, a college circuit. I mean, having an audience in front of me was nothing. They just never existed. You just had to make sure what you did, they liked, because things could come flying from the audience. So you did the best you could while you were on stage. You may be in a stadium or, like I say, a college stage, whatever. I mean, we played the music theater. We were the opening band for Jimi Hendrix. I mean, we were opening band for Jay Giles.
So you've been in front of an audience
Oh,
before.
I've been in front of an audience, and ironically, a lady said to me one day, I was working for her, and she says, "You must have been destined to be a celebrity." And I told her, I said, "Shirley, this is a senior lady, wonderful, wonderful lady, Shirley Saxonis." And it was my birthday, and I went home on that Friday. She says, "Well, have a nice birthday." And when I showed up Monday, she said to me, "You must have been destined to be a celebrity." And I said, "Well, Shirley, I don't care for that word. I'm not. I'm just like you. But I'm taking the time to go and try to produce something that's going to help you and all our other neighbors here in the community." "What makes you say that?" She says, "Well, you told me you were born on Mother's Day. You were the first boy born and you made the paper." I said, "Well, yeah, that's true." She says, "Well, you made the paper. So you were a celebrity the day you were born." So I told her, I said, "In all these years, I never thought of that." I says, "Good point. But I don't like being called a celebrity or I should be commended for this. I do it because I want to do it. The crew does it because they want to do it, because it's very important to us. Our work we don't have time to absorb all the pats on the back, and there's no room for that."
Were you issues oriented before? Were you a person in your community before that was conscientious about the things going on in your community, good things going on in your city? Was that who? Were you ever that type of person before this show, or has the show sort of given that back to turned you into a different type of citizen as well?
Well, I come from the 60s. That should tell a lot in itself, coming from the 60s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And very colorful time. And I know a lot of people out there who are watching right now that they know what I mean, these people. It was always a trip to the Boston Common or the Cambridge Common. Of course, I went to the real Woodstock, not the other ones. Woodstock I went to was peace, love, not war. The other Woodstocks were stabbings and murders, and it just totally, it wasn't what Woodstock was designed to be. Yes, I was involved in protests during the Vietnam War. Today I'm a huge supporter of the veterans as well as the seniors. I don't think the veterans are being treated the way they should be, and I don't think the seniors are being treated the way they should be. It's a shame. I mean, number one, we're all going to get there, but there's a lot of things that people get to enjoy, but they never stop to think of why they get to enjoy these things. And it's because of the men and women who fought for us to be able to, just like we're doing right now, sitting here having this wonderful conversation, Paul. I get to enjoy your company every time you join the show. I mean, because of that, and again, what the seniors did to build this city. So yes, I mean, and my mother, I mean, the most wonderful, she's my angel, she's my best friend. I miss her. I just lost her not too long ago. It was very hard. It's still very hard. There's no one compared. I lost my father when I was very young. He died from cancer. He was 50. My mother tried to be both a mother and a father. And so yes, I was deeply concerned for a long time about people's feelings and people getting ripped off, people not getting the fair shake that they should be getting. So Salem now, I have no problems. I think I fit in with Salem now. Of course, another one that's special. There's a lot of special ones here. Is a hospice from the Hospice of the North Shore. My mom passed away. I did a show with them to help them try to raise monies and awareness to the community, because they are such a dynamite organization. Let me see. Oh, Marblehead Glassworks. Everybody loved that show, watching this guy blowing glass. I mean, it's right next door to the police department. And what was funny was, the officers that watched the show, they absolutely loved it, but they didn't know what was there. And the list goes on. Council on Aging, from the executive director.
Right.
Salem Public Schools, Jim Herman, when we used to tape the Title I, every single frame in this room is all related to the shows. This is a real special one. This is something you see on homes. It's a plaque for old houses, and this was presented to Diana and I, as you can see, 2003 from the Historic Salem Incorporated for all the work we did. We were actually part of saving the Bowditch House because of all our promotion and making it aware of the Bowditch House. We could have lost that house.
Do you think Salem Now brings about change? Has it brought about change? Has it been an instrument through which you can create change in the city, social change, different things?
Absolutely. Salem Now has made changes. Salem Now is going to continue to make changes. We are nothing. We might be members. I may not be paid. My crew may not be paid. But we are somebody to be reckoned with. Don't fool with Salem Now, because the media is a very powerful instrument. And one thing I do have is I say a lot of things that are on your mind you wouldn't say to one person. I say to thousands. And the gratification is to know that if I want to make you, if I see you want to laugh and I can make you laugh, that's gratification number one. I see you need information. You don't know where to turn, where to go. I give you that information. Gratification number two. All around, if I just make your day because of what the crew and I have put together for you, there's no better feeling in this world. A dollar couldn't satisfy that. But to take care, to take some people that are watching the show and give them what they're taking their time and having the confidence in me, in my journalism, in my investigations, to get the story right, that's a big accomplishment. When they turn around and they say, thank you, and you do care about the people of Salem. It's a very big, it makes this work real well, what's inside me. Of course, Richard McCarthy, the school committee, Salem Beautification Committee, a good friend of mine who is no longer in Salem, Tim Jenkins. And then, of course, Lieutenant Governor Kerry Healy. She was on the show. I had her on the show twice. That was a nice show. And, of course, nobody would have thought that we would talk about crap that goes into your toilet. And we went to the South Essex Sewerage. And you wouldn't believe how the people absolutely loved to hear us talk about crap.
No way.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, the people, they absolutely loved it. And, of course, this was drawn from one of the viewers on a shingle. And then over here we have from, let me see, this comes from the City Council. Actually, this relates to this one here. This is a resolution that was passed by the Salem City Council supporting the show, and we are now part of City Hall Records. They passed a resolution. And, of course, this is a newsletter from the North Shore Medical Center where you see me here interviewing hockey star Ray Bork. Then, of course, this is from the Salem Commissions on Disabilities, right. Again, the Council on Aging, Salem Board of Health, and of course Dan Grabowskis. He was in charge of the registry. He ran for state treasurer. Then of course we have a lot of military. This lithograph was presented. Oh, wow. Diana Levesque has one also. This was presented to Diana and I for all the work we've done for the veterans. And this was given to us by the Colonel Tom Moran of the 2nd Corps Cadets. This was our first honor by them, and our second honor was when the colonel called me up about a month later and asked me if it would be all right to make the On the Road show part of the Worcester Veterans Museum, a permanent fixture of the museum, all our work that we've done for the Salem Musters. And of course, I told the colonel, why would I mind that? To me, that's an honor. And then if we could turn here just for briefly, in April 29th, 2007, this was another award where they made us members of the Veterans Association. This was given to us as a surprise.
What is the reputation of Salem now?
You know, there was a time, I'd say 2 years into the planning, into the production, where I didn't give it any thought, but it just, the reputation of Salem now, I don't think you could ask for a better reputation than Salem now has because of what I just described. It speaks for itself. Our honesty, our facts. You can't, what we're bringing to the people at home is true. It's real TV. We don't edit none of the tapes. What you see, I've told people I will go to jail for you. I hope they bail me out. But I don't mind that as a record, because if somebody would have asked me, you know, well, you went to jail. Yeah, but I went to jail for you. I have no problem speaking up. That's our right. And I don't criticize anybody. I don't walk around and say that you're lesser than me, you're lesser than me, you're lesser than me because you don't speak up. I understand, especially when it comes to the seniors. They're petrified. Mm-hmm. They need somebody. People out there are happy to hear that I said what was on their mind. It makes their day. And there's no better feeling to know that you've done that. The guy you see on the show, besides smoking cigarettes and an occasional foul word now and then, I make a point you don't see that on the show because I do have children. Whenever I found out many years ago that I have such a big young audience, well, I was never so happy to know that I was being careful from the very beginning up to that point that I found that out to. I made sure that that was something I always had to remember. You have a mixed audience out there. I can't make, the most negative thing I ever heard about the show was, Lee, I saw your show last night. It was an excellent production, but it wasn't for me. And I said to the person, you know what I would do? And they said, what? I said, I'd change the channel and watch next month. Maybe it will be for you.
There's a Leo Jodoin who hosts Salem Now. Mm-hmm. And there's a Leo Jodoin in his personal life. I mean, you are those two different people, and how much of a difference are those people?
There is no difference with Leo Jodoin on Salem Now and Leo Jodoin. As a matter of fact, when On the Road with Salem Now was created, that was another fluke. I mean, that again, we had a lot of tapings. We used to show a lot of roll-ins, which the people love out there. To better explain, a lot of times to see and talk at the same time, you get more information out there. Well, we were wasting a lot of tape that was very important that I thought that people were missing. So I said to myself one day, you know, I wish they could see this. They enjoyed the roll-in, but that was only a tiny piece. I have an hour of it. Well, I said, what can you do? I'm going to create another show, and it's going to be On the Road with Salem Now, because that's what we did it. We did it outside the studio. Well, the whole decision was, if it makes it and flies, great. Of course, I'll have to do the work. If it doesn't, well, at least I tried. Well, Salem Now is flying. She was here, and as soon as On the Road with Salem Now aired, it was like they both sailed the same. This one caught up at this one. They're 4 months. We're going to be 10 years old August 14th, and in 3 to 4 months after that date, On the Road with Salem Now is going to be 10 years old. So combine the two, there's 20 years of shows there. I know it's still 10 years, right. But Um, Again, people on that show, I wear my dungarees, my Salem Now shirt, and it's like people, when they see that show, they can sit in their living room and watch it naked if they want to. Salem Now show, shirt and a tie, comb my hair. They feel like they got to get dressed up. But it's two different. I like to keep those two shows totally separate from each other. They're sisters, but the On the Road is more of we climb into closets and holes and find out in things that you drive by every day. Like one is like the South Essex storage plant. A lot of people in Salem, it's all they deal with is the crap from your toilet. I got a call from the director of who runs the place and asked if I would do a show, the 75th anniversary. Well, I could not. I've always wondered myself what was under that ground. And when we ever did that show under that grass, there's an entire city under there. Well, the people of Salem went crazy. You talked about earlier about bringing a calm to the city. Well, at that time when we did that show, everybody was all upset about the smell and all the goings on down there it's down by the Willows, the South Essex storage. Well, when we took a tour of that plant, did that show, and got, like you know, Paul, don't buffalo me, because if I know, I'm going to hit you with it, yeah. Right? Well, I did the same thing when I did the show. I appreciate the fact they called me, but I wasn't, just because they called me, I wasn't going to be nicer. I wasn't, right. You called me, you got problems, you're in trouble. As far as I'm concerned, I am going to expose you just like I did with Wenham Lake when I showed the poison being dumped back into the lake. That's another story. But when we did that show, the promises that they made, they kept. And the calm that it brought to not just the Salem Willow area, but within the departments, the DPW, and all of Salem, we took this monstrous argument and just totally made it disappear. Before you knew it, their problem was rectified as promised, and everybody was back to work as normal. I mean, did I go out there and say, I did this, I did that? Right. No. Right. Why? Right. I didn't do nothing. Well, maybe I put a little scare, here and there, but I don't believe that, because they wanted to reach out. They were trying to reach out to the community, but they weren't really getting out there. So they tried Salem Now, and Salem Now did it. That's, I'm proud of stuff like that. And then going militarily, I actually have the autograph of Nathaniel Bowditch, who his father is the one that wrote the Navigator in Salem, which they still use today. And again, this came of the Bowditch Initiative, Historic Salem. And as a matter of fact, I believe I have his signature twice. This is the great-great-grandson. So that's pretty awesome to have these, things like that. Then, of course, I was invited to Paul Brawley, Lieutenant Paul Brawley. He's in charge of all the military stuff here in Salem when the ships come in. Through him, we get to board the ships where the people can't because of the terrorist scares. Right. So when the people can see the ships from the shoreline, Salem Now is there to show them what's inside. And we interview everybody all the way up down to the seagulls. And it brings a calm to the city because they see everything. One thing about Salem Now is you see what we see, you hear what we hear. We cut nothing out. We don't believe in the edit room. Nothing goes in. Our waste basket is completely clean, and we thrive to be honest with the people of Salem. That's what kept us going. I mean, we consider it a drug, and people just can't seem to get enough of it. And then here's another nice one. They got a special boat for me and Diana, or Diana and I. Wow. And this is the Bark Eagle. This is a training ship for the It's the USS Coast Guard Bark Eagle, America's tall ship. It's a training ship for the Coast Guard, and they took us out 5 miles out, and we sailed in on her, taped a show on our way in, and we came in behind the power plant. I mean, what an awesome show. I mean, this thing was unbelievable. Then, of course, we went on the weather ship uh, that was here in Salem, the USNS Mary Sears. What a unbelievable! This is where a lot of people and the ocean liners and cargo ships and our carriers get all their information about weather from this ship here. Then we were on the USS Gunston Hall, and we were on the Ernestina. We were on the USS Doyle, and of course, that's the USS Doyle up here. This is just after we did our interviews with them.
Tell me about the Wynnum Lake thing. Why did you almost go to jail?
Well, I have to mention this part. You know Diana Levesque. She, of course, now we have Patricia Reed is now part of On the Road Salem now, but this has got to be back 4 or 5 years ago. And we were heading over Kernwood Bridge, and I remember Diana. I've always said on the show that I'll go to jail for the people of Salem. Well, it's true. I will. I mean, I have no problem with it. Let's go. Right. Well, as we were going over the bridge, Diana said to me, I'm not going to jail today. We hadn't even reached the lake yet. And we were meeting, I don't know if you ever see the movie Civil Action with John Travolta? Well, I interviewed the lawyer, Jan Schlickman, who they made the movie about, plus Kevin Harvey. He was a liaison to the water board. And it was just so funny, because I'm always telling that story, and I said, don't worry, sweetheart, you're not going to go to jail. She says, I know you want to go to jail. But I don't want to go to jail. And I said, sweetheart, I don't want you to go to jail. I says, I need you out here to get me out of jail. So we arrived at the location and on Wynnum Lake, and we approached this pipe that was just a pipe buried. Well, let me back up a bit. When they draw your water out of the lake, they're cleaning it. That becomes sludge. The sludge now gets taken from there, put into a truck, and they take it around the plant, and there's a big, what they call sludge pond, and they dump it in that. So that's 100% concentrate of poison. And between that pond and the lake is a steel 36-inch pipe, no valve, no cage, no door. It's a pipe, just like that. You can see right through it. There's nothing, and there's no way. Well, that goes from the sludge pond to the lake, which is leaking in. And I mean, we shot, the colors were beautiful. I mean, they were orange and green and purple, and you could literally see the stuff. Well, all of a sudden, as we looked, we saw a lot of people going crazy, and the police showed up, and it was the board had showed up, and they wanted us arrested. And of course, I was psyched, and I had 2 camera girls that day, and now we were set to meet, and Jan Schlickman, where he's an attorney, and Kevin Harvey, where he's liaison from the water to the water board from the Salem City Council. They claimed we were on private property. Well, that's kind of hard to say. I mean, as a taxpayer, that belongs to all the taxpayers. It's right. You know, public, and plus there were no signs, no trespassing. There are now, since Salem Now has been there. But I mean, the reports were drawn up and everything. But I'll never forget that the board took off for us, and there was an officer left, and he looked at us and he said, how much more time do you have left to tape? And I don't remember if it was Jan Schlickman or Kevin Harvey said about 10-15 minutes, and the officer said, this was the day before Easter too, so I would have to spend Easter in jail. He said about 10-15 minutes, and the officer said, well, good, get all you can. So, of course, we went, wow, this is cool. So we all had to meet up at the front of the building in the parking lot. And, of course, they were all jumping around and screaming. And, of course, the police had to tell them to calm down. We were very calm, no problem. We got all we needed. And, of course, a comment was made to one of my Salem Now crew about a week or two later that Salem Now would never be invited. Number one, we weren't invited. We invited ourselves back there, but it always reminds me of something that on Ed Sullivan, when the Doors approached when Ed Sullivan approached the Doors and said, "You will never come on Ed Sullivan again," and Jim Morrison of the Doors said to Ed Sullivan, "We don't need to be on Ed Sullivan again. It only takes one time, then you're famous." Well, that was proven because the city was hopping so bad. It was like we opened up a hornet's nest.
Yeah.
And all the way down to the DBW. Then all of a sudden, the Salem News puts a little picture of that pipe in their paper. So this was known all along, but it took us and Jan Schlickman, who was very active in seeing to it that our water was kept clean. It's very important. You can't live without water. You can have all the money in the world, but you ain't got no water, forget your money. And you can eat your money, and it ain't going to help you. But thanks to Kevin Harvey and Jan Schlickman, and I'm going to thank the show itself, the name, things moved right along, and I know a lot of people that had switched to spring water. And I don't know, I don't drink it. I don't drink I bathe in our water, but I drink, ever since I've been drinking spring water for 14 years now, and I was drinking spring water then. And I mean, I had a lot of people after they saw the show, that's exactly what they did. I'm not saying the water's bad. That I want known out there. I have not revisited that issue again. But lately, I have been asked to check into it, and I have been getting information. See, that's another thing about Salem Now. We're so trusted that I keep saying on the show how I have a grapevine that can wrap around the city 50 times. Well, you know what? That's true. That can't be any more truer, because you can trust me. You don't want something said, it's not said. You can pressure me all you want. I've had people pressure me so hard that they've even divulged what they didn't want me to know, hoping that that was going to make me crack, and said to me, "Well, I've told you what." And I said, "Well, you know what that means? What's that? You got a big mouth." But I am not. I have made a promise to keep my mouth shut, and that's exactly, unless that person says it's okay to say something, then I will do it. Salem Now, you can trust Salem Now.
Is Salem Now, do you see that as sort of is it a crusade? Is it?
No. It's kind of funny. A lot of guests on the show after the show said, that was great. I feel like I was sitting in my living room. No, it's not a crusade. I don't know. Salem's like the lion at the end. When I suggested having a lion at the end of the show, if you see the lion, next time you pay attention, her paws are crossed. And she looks mellow. Yeah. It isn't rah. That's the way it is. It's a tame lion. And then now, of course, she blinks, and it's like, okay.
But you have no, as you've said, you have no qualms and no reservations about exposing, or about going after somebody and exposing them for what they are.
Well, that's a very, very good point, and I'm glad you said that, because that goes along with what some people have said to me about saying that I really care about the people of Salem. That's true. I want to make that number one. That is true. That's the main reason. But you have to realize, Paul, that it's affecting me too. Mm-hmm. And I'm only doing. If more people came out and didn't sit back because of the fear, we would have a lot more changes. Hopefully those changes would be for all the better. You don't know until you do it. So I can't say pro or con whether it's better or not. But in the meantime, it's affecting me and it's affecting the community. So at least, hopefully, again, I'm saying what's on your mind, but you're afraid to say. Seniors, they're afraid to lose their home. They're afraid to lose their medicine. They're afraid to lose their food. They're afraid to lose their income. I know. I spent 2 years trying to put together seniors, and they would have loved to come on the show, but the reason why they didn't is because they were afraid. So how could I handle this to still be able to help them without having their voice? I'm very proud of them now. They formed a committee. It's called the Salem City Support Group, and I'm very proud of them now. They're speaking up. They have no reason, Paul, to be afraid. Because I know one thing, we're here, and we're going to do all we can to make sure no one hurts them. Because we're all going to get there. And for some knotheads that don't understand what they've been through and what they're going through now, our poor seniors, to see the sacrifices that they've made over the years, and now to just be tossed aside like they are, to be hurt the way they are, it's sad. For somebody to ignore that, they haven't seen it. I've seen it. I took care of my mother. And I'd do it again in a moment, because didn't they take care of you? This is Ray Bork. I got to interview him. Dynamite man. Him and I've talked to him off camera, and we have a lot in common. He lost his mom at a very, very young age. I lost my dad at a very young age, and we kind of could see eye to eye. We hit it. We got along really, really easy. And then, of course, this here was a Dick Samad's barber when we did a show there, and he clipped a piece of my hair off. They give this to babies for their first haircuts, and this was kind of comical during the show. But people liked it. I suppose if they would have cut my head off, they would have laughed at that too. So, and then, of course, this is a letter I got from the mayor, Kim Driscoll, for the Salem Senior Recognition Days. And, of course, this one here I got a kick out of. This was the upgraded SATV when we remodeled the studio. And then this one here from a den leader of Cub Scouts. I gave a tour and for the Cub Scouts. And here's another letter from Council at Large Arthur Sargent. And here's one from, at the time, City Council President Joan Lovely. Of course, is Stan Yusevich. Councilor Ward 4 Lenny O'Leary. This here is a contact from Lieutenant Paul Brawley, letting us know about the ships, where everything is, and what to do. It's not, you just don't get up in the morning and just set out to do these shows. We spend months in advance.
How do you decide what topics that you have on your show? Does it have to be hot? Does it have to be... because I know that you've had some very light shows too, some wonderful light shows that you've had entertainment on.
Well, somebody said to me one time, Paul, what would you do if all the problems in Salem got fixed?
That's a great question.
And I said to them, number one, before that happens, I'll be dead. Number two, if all the things in Salem got fixed, I'd tape nothing but nice things. And that's a good way to explain why we have On the Road with Salem Now and Salem Now. We can take both. On the Road with Salem Now is nothing really negative on that show. It can be anything. What makes it important? You make it important. It's the people's show. It's not Leo Jodoin show. It says Salem Now with Leo Jodoin. It doesn't say Leo Jodoin show. It's not. It's our production. We're responsible to see to it that the content that we bring you is important to you in the light that you're looking at it. Important? Is it? Are we selective? No. On one side, you want to use the word selective. Yeah, this is a nice thing. That's something for on the road. Ooh, I might have to stick it up somebody's butt here. That's for the studio. That's where, but as far as if a dog has a problem and it can talk and needs the show to make its point, well, woof woof, you're on. Because as far as Salem Now is concerned, everybody and everything in this city is important.
Does Leo Jodoin have an agenda with his show? Does Leo Jodoin wake up and say, I don't like that person. I'm going to use Salem Now because of its power, because of its reputation, because people watch the show. I think I'm going to take that person down, or I'm going to take that person to the cleaners, or as you said a moment ago, I'm going to stick it up that person's butt. Is it something that, does Leo Jodoin have an agenda?
No. But isn't Salem Now a nice place to be able to do that if I had to? I can do that, Paul, but you know what? That goes back to the sincerity of Salem Now. That's vindictive. Salem Now isn't a vindictive show. I was threatened once. And in 10 years, but I use the word threaten. We'll just try to be nice and say they asked by an organization to say that if I did this for them and had them on the show to work their issue, well, maybe they wouldn't do what they had planned towards me. And I turned around and said, you know, I'm going to say this once and don't open your mouth, because I'm going to say this once. Right now, you are raising the hair on my head. This Salem Now has a squeaky clean name. Salem Now doesn't bargain with anybody. Salem Now hangs you. Salem Now is very powerful. And for you to say that is an insult to Salem Now. Because if I'm willing to bargain, then I'm taking what we truly believe in this show. And that, as far as I'm concerned, to the question you asked, I could be that. But my show, it would be obvious. People, you see, that's another thing. People, all right, you hear people are stupid. I've said that on the show. But I've said it to the idiots. There are some people that just like to cause trouble, period. And I have ways of dealing with them too. And I have dealt with them. And it's worked. It's worked big time. I'm not going to mention because it would give it away, because I'm still working on a few. But I see the ones I have worked on, it's worked. I've made them back off, attacking good people in this city. A lot of people, when I used to get on the former mayor of this city, Stanley Yusevich, people used to say to me, you hate the man. Sorry, but that's a wrong choice of words. I didn't hate Stan Yusevich. When him and I were together, you would have thought we were brothers. I didn't agree with his policies. I didn't agree with what was happening to Salem. Hate him? I don't hate him. I watched his kids grow up on the road show that I've interviewed them since they were babies. Good kids. And people would say, oh, I saw you had the kids. Hey, wait a minute. The kids don't have anything to do with what's going on. They're innocent. Leave them alone. My beef is with the administration's plans. I don't hate the man. Why? Why do I hate the man? Why should I hate the man? No, that's a bad word. It's a very bad word.
Should anyone be afraid to come on Salem Now? Or who are the people that would be afraid to come on Salem?
No, that's a good one. A counselor asked another counselor. A counselor was supposed to be on the show, which has been several times. Said to this other counselor who had been on the show several times, said, I'm going on Salem Now. I heard Leo can be quite a stickler. What's your take? And this counselor told the other counselor, whatever you do, when you go on the show, be straightforward, tell the truth, because he's a very smart man. If he catches you in a lie, the stickler, he's going to stick there. And he's going to try to break you. Be truthful and upfront with him. Let me tell you, between him and the crew, you're going to have the most wonderful time you ever had. You're going to want to be back. It's the most wonderful hour you ever had. It's a great place to be. And he said, and it just happened that this counselor happened to miss his first taping, which the show is so popular that it's very easy to fill the slot. You can back out 10 minutes from now. We've never had anybody back out. It just happened. This was a meeting it was an unfortunate, the planning was wrong. And this counselor said, well, I missed the taping, and I got to call him and apologize. He said, what should I do about that? And the counselor said, well, that one I can't answer. Salem now is Leo's baby, and no one messes with his baby. And I asked this counselor, I said, word for word, is that those are the words? And he said, absolutely. I says, well, you got good advice, because that's true. But everybody wants to come on the show. The show was booked. We're in 2007 right now, in the middle of 2007. I can book 2008, 2009, 2010 in a blink.
And the only people that should have any fear about coming on the show are the people that have maybe something to hide, or people
liars,
are try to use your show,
right,
to underhand the people.
Well, if I can interject for a second, I have had in 10 years 2 different people that did have personal agendas. Now you were asking me about using the show as being vindictive or whatever to a personal state. I can't do that, because another thing too, let's remember one important thing that I stress all the time is the crew. What I do reflects on them. I have to be careful. I know when I'm a nut on the Salem Now studio show, they're jumping for joy in the control room. They absolutely love it when I make a fool out of myself. They love it. But it's to make a point. But I had 2 different people one time. That's the only reason why they wanted to come on the show, because they had a personal vendetta against a certain, the mayor. At the time, it was Yusevich, and I wouldn't allow it. I would not allow it. Now, if I hated the man, don't you think I would have jumped on that bandwagon, and it would have been sparks back and forth, back and forth?
But Salem Now is your crew. It's not just you.
It's not just me.
It's your director, your producer, right. The people that are here.
What I do, I want them to be proud of me, as proud as I am of them. Because when I get on that set, the minute the night rolls on, and when I arrive on that set and my guest is waiting for me, I no longer control the show. I am now the host. I'm the producer and host of Salem Now, but Diana Levesque, she's the associate producer of the show, because of the tremendous work they all do. But she's like my right hand. When I deal with guests, maybe it may be the governor, it may be a congressman, a senator, state representative. I'm working on the Pope. I never know. But
the presidential.
I did contact. I did. Well, I did. No, that's another thing too. And I've never been called on it, because that shows I have contacted Washington, and I am working on to try to bring a president to Salem. People said, "Oh, Republican." Folks, get that out of your head. It has nothing to do with Republican, Green Party, Democrat, Independent. It has nothing to do with that. Just think of the excitement. President comes to town.
Absolutely.
The only difference is I get to sit with him, and which is kind of excellent. And that's another thing too. I get to sit with a lot of these people that you watch TV, and you'd like to talk with these people. Like a congressman or the governor. And I watch TV. You say to yourself, "Oh, geez, I like to talk to that guy." I've sat here and I've talked to them. Yep. Not only on the show. I've spent half an hour before the show, and after the show. I spent some quality time with them to really get a feel of who they are.
That helps you on your with your discussion
With all of them.
with all.
With all of them. This is special because my mom was here at the time. She was alive, and this was, I think, our very first Christmas special. And my mom is down here, and she's up here with my sister Gloria. And it was such a festive mood that Diana is the one that put this together for me, and it was given to me as a gift, and what a tremendous gift. And it has all of former and present Salem Now crew members, and it's really something nice to look at. And of course, the crew now, this is a picture that I like to say when people see this picture that that's me looking nice sitting at my desk, and my criminals are in the background. And of course, they always have something to say about it. But of course, Tim Long, who was our director, is no longer with us. But the other four are now, and have been for a good couple of years, have been the makeup of Salem Now. They're in the background. That's why I encourage people to come down and see the show when we tape it, so they can see the work that they do. It's pretty amazing. I'm really happy about that. You know, I mean, you can sit here, and I don't care if I met you for the first time. If you're trying to pull the wool over my eyes, I not only can get in your mind, and at the same time put a face on that you will never know what I'm thinking. I can make you're trying to make me believe something. Well, it's going to backfire, because I'm going to make you believe that you are making me believe it's right. And when it comes time to do it, right. But I have the reason to come back. But you know, when you say something about it was kind of funny, because the minute you mentioned that about being able to talk with different people, I remember when I was talking to Karen Jellison from the Garden Club. I love taping them. Matter of fact, we're going to be taping them this coming weekend. Right. And doing the. I love the ladies. I'm with 400 ladies, and I mean, I'm the only guy. And I remember one of the ladies said to me one time at an event that we did, and she turned to me, we actually got an invitation to sit with the president before the event and have dinner, and we did. And the lady turned to me and says, "Do you mind me asking you, how do you feel being the only man with 400 ladies?" So again, I had to put my Salem Now hat on and say, how do you answer that one? So I turned around and I said, well, let me put it this way. How would you feel if you were sitting here with 400 men? And whatever you decide, that's how I feel. And she looked at me and said, that's a really good answer. And she says, I accept it. And at the same time, when going back to being diverse on everything, you know, I'm very proud of that I can take. When the Garden Club first contacted me, Karen Jellison, and when she was looking for the Garden Club to get to be taped, I said, well, what's wrong with Salem Now? She says, oh my God, you would do it? I was kind of hoping Salem Now would do it. I said, Karen, we just got done doing a show in a crap plant. Why wouldn't we do a show on flowers? Right. So she started laughing. She says, you honestly would do it? I says, absolutely. Absolutely. We're here for everybody.
That's great.
And from what I understand, I mean, we have a lot of work to do. In the beginning, I had to search. I had to put together guests. But that's the reason why I go live. Yeah. I'm trying to reach out into your living room. I'm trying to pull you in closer to the studio.
You mentioned Diana Levesque. Mm-hmm. Right-hand woman, associate producer,
floor manager, camera.
Manager. She pretty much takes care of you.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't deal after I set up a guest, or she does them. I don't do that anymore. It's almost like being one of these major networks. I don't deal with the guests anymore. Diana usually does. If I have to make a contact, I always turn that contact to her. She does everything.
So she basically is taking care of business when this show.
Yep. I put my brain together for it, And but she
It's
takes
like a baton. Okay,
Yeah,
I
yep.
gotta go and get my
Oh
tie
no,
on here.
she's no. When she arrives at the studio, she's the boss. She takes over.
Dave Moisen has just given me the 2-minute mark.
Yep.
Let's talk about Mr. Moisen.
Mr. Moisen, he has been with the show since the very beginning. I can't thank Mr. Moisen enough. I've known him since he was little. Come to find out, it took us about a year, almost a year of taping Salem Now, where I finally realized where he was from. That he was the little guy that I remembered when I was growing up. I went to where I worked with his father, and that made it even more exciting to have David around. And David has been a godsend to this show. All of them have, but David has really his heart. He's Salem Now.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't ask. I get a lot of ideas from David. David's, again, like Diana. David's always always thinking about the show.
Absolutely. Your director, last but not
Pat
least,
Reed.
Pat Reed. Now, she hasn't always been your director.
No.
She's
I
fairly
scared her. She loves camera, and when we lost our other director, not by no argument or anything, he couldn't leave because of family reasons. And I looked at her one night and I said, "You're directing." And she was nervous, and she says, I can't do it. I said, "You are going to be fantastic. And don't worry about the show. Salem Now has a good name. You can afford to make a mistake.
Right.
You do the best you can, Pat, and if you make a mistake, we'll all be laughing with you. Don't worry about it."
What do you say at the end of your show all the time, and why do you say that phrase?
Until next time, take care and bye for now. Why?
Why?
Because I plan on visiting you again and come and seeing you again. And bye for now is just, I wish I could come sooner with more information. I wish it wouldn't be a month apart. But it's my warm way of saying, trust me, I'll be back. As a matter of fact, in about a half an hour, I'll be making that one phone call to and that's another thing, too, that you have to remember, the sponsors. The sponsors, you wouldn't, if the show was a bad show, if we were corrupt and the word was bad out there, why would a business want to put their name on the back? Mandy's Pizza has been sending pizza to this show for 10 years. 10 years, faithfully. And all the other sponsors, Hair and Nail Design, Blue Ribbon Cake, Barabee Funeral Parlor, I can't help it, he has now have left the show, Dan Tremblay Signs because he went out of business, and Salem Getty.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, they're like family, but why would a business put their name on the back of a show that wasn't credible? You think, there's a lot of things before people can open up their mouths to think about, And we got people not banging the doors down that want to be sponsors, but I can't. I'd have to have a half an hour just for sponsors.
In one word, describe what it feels like to have completed 10 years of Salem Now and On the Run with Salem Now.
Unbelievable.
And
rewarding.
What about
worth it?
What about the next 10 years?
Do you realize how old I'll be? What worries me? Seriously, I do have an answer for that, and we have talked about it over the years. Is I hope, I really do, because we have talked about this in case if I ever got really sick or whatever. You never know. That
You
there'll
want me
be.
to take over?
If you can, yeah. But you see, you have to learn how to be nasty.
Yeah. See,
That's the only problem. I'd be more than happy to pass you the baton, Paul. But you got to be able not to take any crap.
Thank you very much, Leo.
Thank you, Paul.
That concludes this interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent.